Yo, this hot, this the spot, there it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and laughter, stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast to help you find your inspiration. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a fun pop talk episode, talking all that pop. Over on the website, thereitispod.com, we posted a new fest submission blog. Every comedy festival that has open submissions in May, that was posted a couple of days ago. So go check that out. Again, that's on thereitispod.com. In today's episode, we talk to brother of the show Trey and best friend of the show Rob about some pop culture things. We really nerd out. Let's get right to it. Here's my chat with brother of the show Trey and best friend of the show Rob. Well, thanks for joining us here for another Pop Talk. Brother of the show Trey and best friend of the show Rob.
Pop!
Talking all
Close
that
enough.
pop.
Close enough.
Pop, pop.
Pop,
No,
pop,
it's just a reference now.
Yo, pop, pop.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
exactly how you meant to do it.
Yep.
We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about the Oscars. We're going to talk about the Falcon, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and a movie that Rob saw that we didn't see, and also this first topic, which I don't know. The three of us haven't talked so much about the Joe Rogan podcast or Joe Rogan really at all. But recently, Joe Rogan got into hot water for saying that he would tell a young, healthy person, like a 21-year-old, that they don't need the vaccine if they asked him, because his 11, 12-year-old kids, however they're around that age, because they had COVID and they weren't really fazed by it. It was kind of like, man, I'm just a little tired. It wasn't real bad for them. So he's saying if you're healthy, I wouldn't say that you need to get it.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no.
Yeah.
Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and I don't think you need to worry about this. Both my children got the virus. It was nothing. If someone's children died from this, I'm very sorry that happened. I'm not in any way diminishing that. The personal experience that my children had with COVID was nothing. One of the kids had a headache. The other one didn't feel good for a couple days.
Now he's walking those statements back. He's called himself a fucking idiot and not to listen to him, to listen to Dr. Fauci. But he's walked back his statements by saying, A, that the argument people are making that young, healthy people need to get the vaccine is so they don't pass it on to others. And as he put it, that is a different conversation than his point. And B, that his statements on the podcast are not planned statements, and he's not thinking about what he's saying before he says it. These are direct quotes.
Popular podcast host Joe Rogan made comments about young people getting vaccinated. It's getting a lot of buzz.
Well, that's incorrect, Savannah. And the reason why is you're talking about yourself in a vacuum. But you can get infected and will get infected if you put yourself at risk. And even if you don't have any symptoms, you're propagating the outbreak, because it is likely that you, even if you have no symptoms, that you may inadvertently and innocently then infect someone else who might infect someone who really could have a problem.
The White House commented on what I said about vaccines.
That's so funny. Fauci hit you up.
He didn't hit me up necessarily. He disagreed with me.
Right.
I didn't say I'm not an anti-vax person.
Right.
In fact, I said I believe they're safe, and I encourage many people to take them. My parents were vaccinated. I just said I don't think that if you're a young, healthy person that you need it. Their argument was you need it for other people.
So you don't transmit the virus.
That makes more sense.
So
But that's a different argument. Here's the thing. These are not like planned statements. Let's be real clear. When I say something stupid, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say before I say it. I'm just saying it. I'm not a doctor. I'm a fucking moron. And I'm a cage fighting commentator who's a dirty stand-up comedian.
Due to his pull with his massive audience, does he have a responsibility to start thinking about what he says before he says it? Let's start with you, Rob.
I mean, yeah, I've listened to him a handful of times, and mostly it's been about like, ironically, it's been about health, but it's been about like people who have like different ideas for diets and exercise and things like that. So I've enjoyed that aspect of the show. And sometimes when he interviews interesting people, it's okay, but I haven't listened to him in a while. But yeah, there's a lot of like speculation and a lot of like, well, I heard, or I think. And then there's just also a lot of like armchair, because he's interviewed scientists and doctors. He thinks he knows this stuff. And it's like, no, no, that's not how that works. And so, yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that like, he's just kind of like, you get I'm not saying he's like Trump, but it's kind of like that thing of, well, I heard, there's a lot of people saying. It's kind of like that idea. And I don't know, is Joe Rogan from New York? Do you know?
I want to think Jersey is where he's from.
Same thing. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like that. That's just how like some people like talk there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's just kind of like a thing. Like, well, so it's like, so I could definitely, there's a lot of times where I can see he's just speaking out of his ass. And, but I think he has a responsibility because he knows who his listeners are. He knows that he trends more towards, not purely the Ben Shapiro audience of the world, but they're definitely more libertarian leading, a little more don't trust the government as much leading. And so those are the kind of people that obviously, we want to get the vaccine. And so I think he has to think, that they're going to be really inspired by his words to not.
Yeah, for sure. Trey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, I guess the one part, I don't want to make it sound like I understand any of what he said, but when he said he doesn't plan his thoughts out.
Yeah.
I get the idea of if you're hosting and you want stuff to go organically so you don't know what's going to come up next. That part I sort of get. But if a topic comes up that you aren't that familiar with, shut the hell up. Right?
Yeah.
Like don't, I mean, you've got too many people, like you both said, listening to you, looking up to you, who are influenced by you. You'd better know what the hell you're talking about if you're going to say something.
And it's frustrating because like, there's the doctor, not Fauci, but there's, it's like, he's actually from Minnesota. It's like Olmsted or Olmsted, and I can't remember his name exactly, but he was like over a year ago, he was the first one that I was like, the serious pucker factor happened when I listened to that podcast, because he was like really clear about COVID, how bad it was, what was happening with it, was more than likely the origin of it or why it was, and so
that was like a year or so.
That was over. Yeah, it was definitely like March.
That was like
March
when
2020.
Dr. Drew was saying it was just going to be like the flu. Okay.
Yeah, like this guy was like, this is.
So one of the challenges we have is often by the time we pick up one of these outbreaks in any one given community, there may be already a substantial number of infections in that community. And then what happens is that we just have what I call a rolling set of outbreaks that will occur. So, for example, in the United States, while we see these epicenters right now in King County, we see them in the greater New York City metropolitan area and even potentially in Southern California. There are many other smaller outbreaks that are emerging into larger outbreaks and throughout the United States, and for that matter, throughout the world. And so what we're really watching here is not one big tidal wave of cases, but the accumulation of many of these more limited outbreaks that then collectively bring together the cases. And then from that, we get a sense of the major challenge for a given country or a given region of the world. Now, one point to note is that often comes up is, well, in fact, does that mean that there will be a peak at this time or that time? And as these smaller, and in some cases not that small in the sense of total numbers, but smaller in the sense of an entire country outbreak, we will see then those numbers of cases kind of accumulating together to get that, what we call rising curve. And of course, we'll talk more about this in a moment, but the goal that we all had is to keep that new number of cases flattened so that it doesn't keep increasing, and the implication that has for healthcare. So the final point to make about all of this is that we clearly are in this for the long haul.
I listened to him, and then I listened to Malcolm Gladwell on another podcast. And it was like, after that, I was like, good boy. So that's what's frustrating is like, he's had experts from the beginning telling him how bad it was. And he has to know that the vaccine would be good. So, I mean, I could use a sample size of my wife's 94-year-old grandmother had COVID and was fine. Oh, so that means no elderly people need to have it? It's like, no, she was lucky. Like there's something about her, her strain and her body that it didn't affect her. But the person, literally the person across the hall from her died from COVID.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that in the same breath that Joe Rogan mentioned that his kids, one basically just a headache and the other one maybe a little tired. He said, if you lost somebody to COVID, I'm sorry. So he knows that he's not one who's denying the fact that it's...
Yeah, he was like, I'm not trying to belittle, or I don't know if he used the word belittle, but he's not trying to downplay all the deaths. But I think he fundamentally misunderstood the situation. If he is saying, okay, my 11 and 13-year-old kids were fine, to say that 21-year-old healthy kid I don't think needs to get it, then he doesn't understand the point of it. And to say that what I said is different than the argument people are making about not get, but what you said is within that point that they're making. The reason they are saying it is because what you said is not a logical thing. Here's my thought, just to answer the question. I'm in agreement with you two. Of course, he should think about what he says before he says it. Anybody should.
Yeah.
And I understand that he likes to be off the cuff. That's a big thing with comics, I think, being off the cuff.
And obviously he's been successful with this format.
Right. And it's a big part of his appeal to be off the cuff. And I'm sure he likes doing that. And it does kind of stink when you can't be as off the cuff because you've gotten bigger. And that's a lot of people, when they got bigger, they had something that they had to protect and their career. So they couldn't go out and say certain things anymore. Like I've heard Kevin Smith talk about how before Ben Affleck got super big, he would be a little bit more honest about things that were happening in the industry. But when he got to be like A-list status, and it could hurt his career to pop off on the wrong subject, then he stopped doing that. And I heard Adam Sandler was the same way. So I get losing that can feel like it sucks, but it's only really good to be off the cuff when you can hit the nail on the head of a subject. When you can express the core of an issue that doesn't have any fluff, when it's pure and it doesn't sound like a manufactured statement or anything like that. That's when being off the cuff is good, but that's not this.
Yeah, the off the cuff and saying facts are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
You can speak off the cuff, and some of your examples, like some of the Ben Affleck stuff. I don't care how famous you are or are not.
Right.
You probably shouldn't just be popping off.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I would say in reference back to Ben Affleck, though, if you want to hear off the cuff Ben Affleck, just listen to the DVD commentary on Armageddon. He just shits on the movie the entire time.
Oh, that's
funny. Awesome. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. And he's like, wait a minute. Don't you think it would have been easier to teach drilling to astronauts than being astronauts to oil drillers?
I asked Michael why it was easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers, and he told me to shut the fuck up. Like, somehow they can build rocket ships, but they don't understand, what makes a good tranny.
Like, he says that to Michael Bay, and they put that on the DVD commentary.
That makes me want to buy that.
I know.
DVD.
I've listened to clips. It is amazing. Ben Affleck.
It's like It's like Joel Schumacher in the commentary for Batman and Robin. I still haven't heard it, but I keep reading or seeing anecdotes where he just
Yeah.
stopped and said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry."
Akiva Goldsman was blamed a lot for the sort of lightness and humor and fun and games of Batman and Robin, but that's not fair. I take full responsibility.
I didn't. And sidebar to our future topic, I did not realize Joel passed away. I don't know. It just passed my and I saw. It's always when I watch the memorial, and I'm like, oh my god. Because one, I was like, I thought Wilford Brimley was dead for like 5 years, and then Hal Holbrook, who's one of my favorite actors ever. He passed away last year, and I'm like, damn, he had a good run because I thought he was dead like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
there were a couple in there that were a surprise for me as well. Just to finish this thing with Joe Rogan, what were you about to say?
One thing with Rogan is I think he has to be mindful of his audience because one, like I said before, he knows who listens to him, but also he has a serious power over his audience. He has that kind of audience. And so, I mean, honestly, if he had said like, just be frank, go to the Capitol and storm the Capitol, they would have done it for him.
Yeah.
Because he has devoted followers.
Oh, listen, there have been people who I follow on Twitter. I think this happened to someone I interviewed on the podcast. She was saying that whenever she says something negative about him, people come out of the woodwork attacking her.
Oh, yeah.
And she's not adding him. So how are they finding it? They're finding it because they're searching his name, just looking for people who are talking about it. And to like get in the comments on that is kind of strange.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even dislike him per se, and I understand why a lot of people do, but it is irresponsible whether you have his pull or his amount of audience or you don't. If you have
one audience
who hear you, right? If you have one audience member, you shouldn't be saying things that are wrong that don't make any sense,
especially when it's to the detriment of society like that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've seen him argue for what we are saying, which is to be educated and to know about something before you talk about it. We've also seen him say a few things where he didn't know what he was talking about, but he was talking about it anyway.
There's a difference
between a little bit.
There's a difference between being on both sides of federal funding or on education, on things like that. There's nuance there. There's not a nuance in science when it comes to the vaccine. And so that's where I don't think you should both sides it. Now you could both sides it in the sense of, I understand if you have a religious belief or you're, against, if you're just are fundamentally against vaccinations, I get that. But to say that someone doesn't need it because you're healthy, you're going to be fine. It's like,
how many healthy people got gravely ill
or died?
Yeah.
And even the people, even like super healthy, like athletic workout every day. And they still couldn't breathe weeks or months later.
Yeah. I mean, it's
you don't know who's going to get it bad.
No.
And there are people who got it and were fine, and there are people who got it and died, and people who were their health was ravaged, and they weren't people with bad hearts or bad lungs, and they weren't 75 years old.
Also,
30.
Also, you think about it, if his average age is, I don't know what his average age is, but I would assume early 20s. The last thing an early 20-year-old needs who's not on their parents' insurance is massive amount of debt from healthcare. Right. So, that's another thing to think about. Maybe they don't die, but if they're in the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe they don't have hospital bills, because I don't know how all that goes with COVID care, but there's still a lot of costs that go into hospitals, and also they're probably not working for 4 weeks or so. You know what I mean? So it's like there's there's a responsibility there that you've got to consider.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad he was bold enough to say he was a fucking idiot for saying what he said.
Yeah.
And that cleared and that quickly said that. As far as him like kind of backpedaling on it, it's like, no, dude, you need to understand the pull you have.
Yeah.
And and the irresponsibility of saying something like that in this venue.
Yeah.
And as we kind of implied this in what we've said, but just to say it explicitly, is not just about not passing it on to others either. Because as we talked about, the 21-year-old who's healthy can still get it if they're not vaccinated.
Still get hurt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So it's just, there's a lot of bad discussion out there. I don't think he was trying to have a discussion in bad faith. I just think he didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah. And I think I'm hoping that he considers those things a little bit more, because it's just too often now that he's saying something that doesn't make a lot of sense. I shouldn't say it's like, well, it's happening too often now, but I will say that I think I've seen it a number of times at this point, and it's like, dude, not no mo. You know, not when you sign $100 million deal with Spotify. Yeah, a huge deal like that. Like, there's a certain level of responsibility that you have now.
Number one Spotify viewership.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, he's got a responsibility. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to a topic that won't upset us. I, for one, am still excited about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or as they rebranded, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That finale was awesome. I saw the clip of Sam's entrance as Cap again just the other day and realized, like halfway into that clip, I was still grinning from ear to ear seeing it. What were your thoughts? Let's start with you, Trey.
So I think it's great. So anything that I say that's negative, not all of it's nitpicky, but it's heading in that direction. But I think it was great to see Sam, like you said, rushing in as Captain America. And on the one hand, I really liked that when somebody asked, "Who are you?" he said, "I'm Captain America."
I'm sorry, wait, who are you? Captain America. I thought Captain America was on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But my reaction in the moment was influenced, Jason, by something you had sent me. However many, in proving that John Walker wasn't the right Captain America. And it was this mashup of all the times that Steve Rogers introduced himself, and he always said, "I'm Steve Rogers."
Yeah.
Whereas John Walker said, "I'm Captain America."
John Walker, Captain America! Captain America. I am Captain America. I am Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
And it was to show Steve's humility and that John Walker didn't really deserve it. So once I saw that, and then Sam said, "I'm Captain America," I was like,
Yeah.
But
I'll be honest, I had the same feeling.
Oh, God.
He, of course, did not have the arrogance that John Walker had.
Right.
He said
oh, my God. I'm not going to say this.
And of course, it was the importance of him saying
it. And that's what I was going to say. That's why it didn't bother me, because, God.
It wouldn't have bothered me.
The white guy saying this to black guys.
No. It wouldn't have bothered me had I not seen that.
And see, to me, it was just like, he was willing to take the mantle. And so I like that aspect of it. But I see what you're saying. Like, I think I saw that. You may have sent that clip to me too, Jason. But
and it's funny. It's a funny meme, but that's that's one of those situations where memes don't always hit the nail on the head, even if they kind of get an aspect right. But overall, because it was the same kind of people who were sharing the John Walker's using a gun, Captain America never would, and then all these people are like, here's a clip from the Avengers, and here's the clip from Captain America, the first Avenger. What are you talking about? He's using a gun in all these clips.
Yeah.
So I had the same influence from the meme, but Rob, you're about to explain.
No,
why I'm wrong. No.
Yeah, why both you black men are wrong about the way that black men are being shown in popular culture. But no, I know, but I took it as he was willing to say, this is who I am, but I'm also Captain America. And I thought it was pretty funny that, it was funny and poignant when someone said, "Oh, look, there's black Captain America." And they were like, "No, it's Captain America," It's
right.
Yeah.
That's the Black Falcon there. I tell you. Now, that's Captain America.
And I do think that, again, if I hadn't seen the meme first, I would have just taken it as, of course, the first person who's Captain America probably wouldn't call himself Captain America. It was just kind of a nickname that
George
became
Washington
a symbol.
Was not really like, I'm the president of the United States.
Right. Like that, it was just this. It's because of Steve that Captain America became a symbol. So Steve wouldn't think of himself that way. Everybody who came later would be trying to live up to it. And so that's even where it's in a sense, it was even a positive that John Walker saw himself as trying to live up to that. It's just he didn't have the Sam personality to really earn that in a way that was accurate and right and poignant for the story.
Yeah.
But I mean, most of that was still really done. 99.9% of the show is really done. I think where I get into nitpicky land a little bit is some of the Bucky stuff was a little undertold, I think. Like at the end before in episode 5, at the end of episode 5, when they're tossing the shield around and having the conversation, and Sam's speeches were great, like very inspirational, showing why he deserved to be Captain America, all that stuff. But the name of the show is not just the Falcon.
Right.
The name of the show is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think that Bucky needed some of that heft at that point too. And I think one example is when Sam, while they're tossing the shield, says, "You can't let anybody tell you who you are."
But Steve is gone. And this might be a surprise, but it doesn't matter what Steve thought. You got to stop looking to other people to tell you who you are.
It was a great opportunity for Bucky to say, that's true for you too. I mean, part of why Sam didn't take the shield was because of how he thought America would look at a black man taking it.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice for there to be some reciprocation there in this identity crisis and the kind of conversation, instead of it just being Sam lecturing.
Yeah.
And in that same vein, I usually don't take much stock in what Screen Rant writes, but they actually wrote something really good about how the finale, they maybe oversold it in saying that the finale failed Bucky, but it's along the lines of what I'm saying, in that this whole conversation that Sam just had with Bucky was, you weren't amending, you were avenging, and you got to be of service. And so when Bucky goes to Yori in the final episode, we don't see him be of service. And it's basically just the start of, here's what really happened, but they cut away. They don't show the conversation. They don't show Bucky doing anything for Yori later, but somehow he's crossed Yori off the book, sent the book to the doctor and said, thank you. But what Screen Rant argued is that this should have been the beginning of Bucky really doing the work and being able to take on the therapy.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of it being like the whole thing tied up in a bow right there.
Yeah. He should have gone back for a session. Yeah.
I think they both maybe could have taken on mantles, and his maybe would have not been as physical as the shield, but the Captain America shield, that is. But yeah, I think there were some missed opportunities with Bucky. I don't think that's an unfair thing or particularly nitpicky. It's not as egregious, but it's still like a missed opportunity. My only real gripe with the show, and this is really my only gripe with the show, is the way they tied things up with John Walker. The director, Carrie Stogland, that's how you pronounce it, said that the goal was to make everyone like John Walker by the end of the show. And if they wanted to do that, fine, maybe. But 6 episodes was not really enough to go from, we're just now seeing who this guy is, now we're seeing that he's not worth his salt. Oh, he murdered a guy, and now he's, the final episode, he's turned a new leaf, and he's now suddenly likable, quippy guy going with his I'm back. Like, it's all like likable Wyatt Russell at the end, and that didn't feel earned.
Back.
See, I disagree with that, actually, because I thought that he was that in the beginning as well.
Good morning, America. Look, at least we know what we're up against now, huh? I mean, we're pretty sure it's one of the big 3. So, aliens, androids, or wizards. Pretty sure. Heard you were working with Bucky, so I thought I'd step in. Bucky's not going to be following a strict schedule any longer.
Who authorizes?
It's just that he wasn't Captain America, but he wanted, they showed that great scene in the locker room before he went out to Good Morning America, where he really wanted to not fail anybody.
Everybody in the world expects me to be something. And I don't want to fail them.
Yeah.
And they showed his earnestness, not Steve Rogers type earnestness, but kind of like what we said in the previous Pop Talk, that West Point kind of earnestness.
Okay, yeah. I agree with that, but him going to the I'm Captain America, don't get in my way. Do you know who I am?
Where'd she go?
Do you know who I am?
Totally cancels out, is this guy really worthy? And then the fact that he then acted the way he acted for episodes 3, 4, and 5, I think that it was too detrimental. It was way too much of a blemish of his image from those first 2 episodes.
Well, it is, but it is
to
me. It is, but it isn't, because I mean, the pressure of the job got to him. But ultimately, he's still a hero, and he's still someone that wants to do right. He's just not going to do right the same way as Captain America would, and he's going to be kind of, I think, from what I understand from the comic books, he's a little bit of like an anti-hero hero kind of thing, where he kind of he's liquid on some of the stuff he does, and I'm
fine with that.
Yeah,
but again, I think it all happened in a way that I couldn't fully buy, because I don't think 6 episodes.
Well,
those beats for a story arc are fine.
Yeah,
it didn't come across well for me in 6 episodes. It didn't get me there with them.
I find it funny though. There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, but he murdered someone." I'm like, bitch, he murdered somebody who had been involved in multiple murders.
Who just murdered his best friend. So there are a lot of people who
I don't know, man. If Thor or Captain America or Iron Man had done that shit in MCU, we would be talking about how bad it was.
Well, yes and no, but but I mean, ultimately, yeah, but I just didn't think it was so unredeeming. It's he killed somebody, and it was probably, he made a rush decision. But the guy also, did he really give up? I mean, I guess he was cowering at the end, but he tried to say, I didn't do it. But I mean, I just don't see the difference between him and some of the other people in the MCU that have been killed by heroes. So, I mean, there's been times where they've killed people, and I mean, most of the time it's always a little bit different how bad guys get killed in the MCU. Most of the time it's their own hubris that they get killed. But
yeah, I mean, that's the problem. It's the hubris of the character for me. But
sure.
Also, it's not that it's unredeemable. I just don't think it was episode
4.
5 when
it was episode 4. It was 4. Yeah. And then
5 where he was humbled. Reeling and then episode 6 he's redeemable. I think that's too much.
I think
of a turn.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't months passed.
But I don't think he was. I don't think he was redeemed in the sense of okay, maybe this guy should have been Captain America. I think he was redeemed in the sense of this guy's not incompetent. He does have some type of spirit of and some type of moral, and he wants to do the right thing. It's just it's hard for him to do the right thing.
I'm with Rob on that. Even in the 6th episode, I don't
disagree that he should get there. I don't disagree that that's where they should end up with him.
But that's
I'm not ready to receive the guy as the quippy. Oh, it's Lincoln. It's a great quote.
Mercy bears richer fruit than strict justice.
Lincoln? Really?
Great man. Great quote.
Not when you say it.
That was Rhodey Iron Man type dialogue back and forth.
Yeah,
I'm not ready for that with.
But that's how he was that's who he was when we met him.
Yeah.
So it's not that it was this turn. It was more that he stumbled and went and then came back to himself.
Came back.
That's a hell of a stumble.
But it's a realistic stumble. He just watched a flag smasher murder his best friend. And it's a terrorist. Whether you want to, I know that Sam made the point of call him terrorist, but but that's what they were labeled as. is terrorists. So he was legally, that guy was complicit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, in terms of the snap, in terms of why you would kill him, it's like Brad Pitt at the end of Seven.
I visited your home this morning. After you'd left, I tried to taste the life of a simple man. It didn't work out. So, I took a souvenir. Her pretty head.
Oh, what's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's
gun.
in the fucking box?
He just told you.
He just saw his wife's head in the box, and here's the dude who did it.
Spoiler.
So he snapped. Well, yeah. But I mean, that's essentially what it was for John Walker. This is the dude who just killed my best friend, my brother.
I mean,
Hey, Lamar.
And if 3 days later they're showing Brad Pitt just laughing and joking with people, I'd be like, there's something about this that I'm not buying.
well, I don't know if it was it 3 days later?
It wasn't literally 3 days later.
Yeah, I thought it was like weeks. Yeah.
Even if it still wasn't like,
but
we didn't
I think,
see.
yeah,
I needed at least one more episode of
that's
this
the problem,
guy doing
and
right.
That's ultimately the only gripe I have about the show is that they had too much in the pot.
Yeah,
they had
for 6 episodes.
For 6 episodes, they had way too much. They threw everything at it because I mean, they literally could have just done it about Isaiah Bradley. They could have literally just done it about the power broker. They could have done it about, you know what I mean? There's so much stuff that was happening, excuse me, that it's hard, you know, there was going to be some quick cuts to get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they established John Walker. They jumped the shark a little bit in that sense of getting him to this better place. But I think it's just because they had so much story and they had so much to tell.
I completely agree. But that's my gripe is that they went so many places with him so quickly that I think it was too fast.
Well, and
the end was wrong because that's part of what both of you are arguing about. Is, but he's really not supposed to be as bad person. I'm not saying he's supposed to be a bad person. I'm saying I didn't buy the quick turnaround. The quickness of the turnaround is what I have a problem with.
Yeah,
because it's 6 episodes.
I just didn't. What I'm really saying is I didn't feel like it was a quick turnaround. I
didn't think it was that quick, but I think there's just a lot of story there that you probably could.
So many episodes of us not supposed to like this guy, and I
never felt like they didn't do a lot to make me because they did, but they threw in the scenes like remember when like they had the beer before his what was Battle? Was it Battlestar? Is that what he called himself? Or what was is Lamar? Was that his name?
Yeah, Lamar.
They have like
I don't
scenes,
remember what his other
but they had scenes of him talking about, you know, the pressure and everything.
If you had the chance to take the serum, would you do it?
Hells yeah.
You wouldn't be worried about how it might change you.
Power just makes a person more of themselves, right? Carly Morgenthau, Steve Rogers.
And me?
You already have 3 medals of honor. You consistently make the right decisions in the heat of battle.
Yep. 3 badges of excellence to make sure I never forget the worst day of my life. The things that we had to do in Afghanistan to be awarded those medals felt a long way from being right. Being cap's the first time I've had the chance to do something that actually feels right.
So they spattered that stuff in even when he was getting frustrated about, basically not being successful for the first time in his life.
I thought he was a douchebag in those scenes. No,
I didn't really feel like they were trying to make us not like him, because I think in the beginning,
well, the director is saying that the point was for everyone to like him by the end, and she even said, "I think we did that." I don't think they did that.
Yeah, I think because they tried to make him likable at the beginning, and it wasn't like he was this douche or dick. At least how I view how they were doing it. I think he just wasn't Captain America, but I don't think he was a dick or a bad guy. I thought he was a good guy who was trying to do right.
Yeah.
And he did something wrong.
Yeah.
But it was not like we're supposed to dislike him for it. I mean, some people obviously will because he killed a guy.
Right. I think there needed to be a little more I just don't feel, I saw how they were doing scenes to have him the way he was watching Sam give the speech, and when he saw the people being like they're about to die and he helped
them. Yeah.
Right. Like those were moments where they were supposed to be like, he's going to do the right thing. Deep down, he knows what the right thing is. I just needed a little more to get to, I'm going to laugh at his quips now.
Okay. Now, one thing we're not discussing, and it's something that's amazing to me that they've never brought up in all 6 of these episodes. Well, I guess she wasn't in all of them, but how do they come to terms with the fact that Steve banged his niece?
So
I thought they just kissed.
Yeah, they.
Oh no, they banged, bro. They banged. Also, he banged Black Widow too. They totally banged. Like
they never addressed that those things happen.
He was not a virgin all the way till Endgame.
I'm 95. I'm not dead.
I refuse to believe that. I believe my captain.
I mean, 5 years, and the snap, he had to have done something.
He got out there. He got out there, man. But no, for Sharon Carter's one of those characters. No, my gripe about hers is they're like, oh, now you're reinstated in the CIA and you're good to go. And she's like, peace. Let me walk out of the government building and get out my phone and be like, well, no more super soldiers, but I got a shitload of tech I can sell. Like
before she even that's part of the trying to wrap too much up in a bow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah,
because she obviously wouldn't do it in that moment in that way.
No,
or she's even gotten the intel that she's going to be able to have access to.
Yeah, that was a little like, but
yeah.
There was, as you were saying, Rob, there was just a bit too much in the pot to do in the amount of time that they had, and I understand why they wouldn't want to do a 20 episode season, and I'm glad they didn't. But I would have been happy with an 8 to 10.
I think they could have done. I think it's funny. I think WandaVision could have been less episodes, and I think this could have been more.
I actually thought WandaVision was the perfect number because I thought it was, for me, it felt just right. But I did read where Feige was wanting all of these shows to be, I forget how many hours they add up to, 6 or 8 hours.
That makes sense.
It's like, no, it shouldn't be this many hours. It should be
this much
what
story.
Does the story need?
Yeah.
Agreed.
But the only other thing I'll say as far as the kind of nitpickiness, and it goes back to Endgame.
Yeah.
And I purposely didn't mention this in our last Pop Talk because there were episodes left. Maybe they'll address it. But when Steve handed the shield to Sam, and I said this to Jason privately, I wondered, why did Sam
privately? It was privacy was needed for him to say
that. What did I say?
No, what you're about to say was just needed for privacy.
Oh.
It's just funny to say, like, what we're talking about. You're like, I said this to him privately.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
no one else I know what you mean.
But
I'm better than Sharon Carter at this.
but when Steve handed Sam the shield, I know obviously in the comics, Steve picked Sam to be his successor, and that was a big thing. And there are a lot of things in comic book movies where the answer is because comics.
Only thing bumming me out is the fact I have to live in a world without Captain America.
Oh. That reminds me. How does it feel?
Like it's someone else's.
It isn't.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
That's why it's yours.
Yeah.
I think because the MCU has made stuff so grounded and so real, it made me wonder, why did Steve think that there needed to be a next Captain America? Because he's already the Falcon. He's already somebody. Why isn't the Falcon worthy or capable of inspiring? Why does it need to be the shield and the stars and stripes?
That's what I said publicly to my friend Andrew Van on his podcast. When that happened, I was like, but he's the Falcon.
Yeah. And it's like, Jason, you and I have talked a bunch of times about Arrowverse stuff. It's like when Diggle took over the Green Arrow mantle and then got pissed because Oliver took it back.
And you're picking now to whine about not getting a promotion? You leave a trail of bodies every damn place that you go.
Where I'd say that that's different is in the point in time on Arrow when Diggle became the Green Arrow, nobody knew that Oliver Queen was the Green Arrow. So when Oliver decided to drive off in the sunset with Felicity, to still have the Green Arrow in Star City meant something. And since nobody knows who it is, anybody can put the hood on as long as they're capable. And it still strikes the fear in the criminals and inspires the good people and all that stuff.
Every time that I'm out there as the Green Arrow, I'm a target of the FBI, of the Bratva,
of the threats that are out there and the threats that are undoubtedly coming.
And on my own, I can take it. I'm not on my own anymore. I cannot be responsible for my son losing the only parent that he has left.
Oliver.
Star City needs the Green Arrow. It just can't be me anymore. So I'd like it to be you.
But in the MCU, where there essentially are no secret identities, you know that Steve Rogers was Captain America. Why did Steve think that Sam now needed to be Captain America? I think the show did a great job of showing why the government felt that they needed a new Captain America because of the 5 years and all the chaos. And maybe if we wrap ourselves in Uncle Sam and we need you and that kind of World War II style propaganda, they thought that could help dig us out of where we are right now. So I get that.
Unrest in the wake of recent events has left us vulnerable. Everyday Americans feel it. While we love heroes who put their lives on the line to defend Earth, we also need a hero to defend this country.
We need a real person who embodies America's greatest values.
We need someone to inspire us again. Someone who can be a symbol for all of us.
But unless I'm missing something, Steve wasn't privy to that need. Maybe he saw something, and maybe it was something related to his living his life in that alternate timeline to grow old. I don't know, but I thought that the show would explain that. And I thought that that's, especially for Bucky to be as pissed as he was at Sam for not taking it on, there's something behind it that wasn't explained.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be addressed in the Captain America movie that they have announced.
Yeah.
I'm very excited that it's happening. I already want to rewatch the series.
Yeah.
I love WandaVision, but I wasn't immediately like, oh, I got to rewatch it. But that's exactly how I felt immediately after seeing Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I do want to say really quickly, before we move on to the next topic, that I haven't seen a bunch of racists online being mad about Sam becoming Captain America. The overwhelming take that I've seen is that everyone just thinks it's awesome. So I haven't seen any angry white supremacists saying, no, Captain America can't be black. So I think that's great.
I saw one or two, but I mean, that's actually not to debate what you said. It's actually to further what you just said, because usually they come out the woodwork. The fact that I only saw one or two speaks to your point. And maybe it's just because Sam because we developed the MCU developed Sam so well that it would be difficult for even the racists to hate on him.
Plus, that speech at the end was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the best speech they've had in anything MCU, in my opinion. I think so.
I mean, it's up there. I mean, they've had enough good to great speeches that it's.
I just really thought that was pretty good. But
yeah, it definitely was.
Your peacekeeping troops carrying weapons are forcing millions of people into settlements around the world, right? What do you think those people are going to call you? These labels, terrorist, refugee, thug, they're often used to get around the question why. We finally have a common struggle now. Think about that. For once, all the people who've been begging, and I mean literally begging for you to feel how hard any given day is, now you know. Now, if you could remember what it was like to be helpless and face a force so powerful it could erase half the planet, you would know that you're about to have the exact same impact.
It definitely was. I mean, it was the kind of inspiring thing that you could play in any situation. Like and I'm sure this was intended, like real life governments need to watch that speech.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, and we didn't say Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, yeah.
Things are about to get weird. So when they do, we're not going to need a Captain America. We're going to need a U.S. agent.
She's just awesome, man.
She was really great. She can walk into any role and she's just going to crush it.
She just took it to 11. Like, it was like, oh, I didn't know I needed this, but now I need more of this. Like, please.
It's almost like Selena Meyer if she were in the MCU, but still,
no, she seemed,
but still different. Yeah,
she seemed competent.
Yeah.
So Selena, not so much. Arrogant, yes. Competent.
Well, let's move on to our last topic. Our technically second to last topic. The Oscars had its lowest rating since Nielsen started recording audience totals in 1974. It's got some asking if the Oscars need a makeover, and others naming the issue as anything between it's just no fun to it's Hollywood liberalism.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts? And I'll actually start with this one, since you two started on the previous topics. I think there are a lot of reasons why the ratings have been going down for years. And I think most of the things I've read online are wrong. They're none of the things, really. I mean, for the most part, I heard some guy say that the ratings are down because there are no stars like Jack Nicholson, and he rattled off some other people. And he said that everyone is also so used to mediocrity now because they're fed it. They're fed mediocrity so much. And it's such a weird point to make because, A, there are still plenty of Jack Nicholson level stars in the world. Brad Pitt is definitely, Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, the list goes on. We just don't need the Oscars to see stars anymore. You know, like in the 80s, there wasn't the internet. There wasn't Tumblrs devoted to these stars. And there weren't a million talk shows for that A-list stars were going on. So it's a different time period, but there's also just a lot more taking people's attention. And B, the nominees weren't mediocre. There's like a lot of good work that was nominated this year. So I don't think it's any of that. I have a few that I do think are the real issues for why the numbers are down. For one, the nominations are mostly good, but they aren't the movies that people are seeing in droves, even with the pandemic. With it being easier for people to see these movies, they weren't necessarily going out of their way to see some of these art house movies. And people are seeing big movies. They just aren't the kind of movies that are nominated. Back in the day, epic movies that everyone saw used to get nominated for Oscars. But, you know, that had to have helped the ratings back then, by the way. But today's epic movies are superhero movies. And as you know, those don't get nominated. So
wrongfully so most of the time.
An accurate point, and they'll get nominated for stuff like best sound editing. They're not
or costuming,
right, or stuff like that, but not the major categories. So, you know, people not seeing what's nominated, that has to be part of why they aren't watching the Oscars. And that has to add up. And also, I feel that this is like a 3.5 hour telecast, and people really only care about the major awards, and half of the major awards are given at 11 p.m. when most people are in bed, and they can just look on the internet the next morning to see who won. So why would
I think that's the big thing.
I think that's the main thing.
That's probably the main thing.
It's easy for people to see, but I think the other main thing is that the only reason to watch it is to see who's nominated. You take the Grammys, people hate the Grammy Academy. They think they get the wrong people nominated or the wrong people win it. People complain about that every single year, but they watch the Grammys because big stars are performing live, and oftentimes they're paired with another big star that they don't normally play with. So they're moments. But the Oscars doesn't have that. And they don't have that because the Academy eliminated all of that stuff. They got rid of the host. They're not doing a bunch of fun little bits. The only fun bit that they did during the telecast this year was Glenn Close doing the butt. That came several hours into the broadcast.
Yeah.
And Questlove DJing was also great, but that's just going to the commercials. They don't need to see the Oscars. They wouldn't know that was going to happen. But what they anticipate are a bunch of speeches and no moments. And they can find out all the information they want the next day on Twitter or something, So why would they stay up late to watch a state affair?
Yeah, I think, and there's also a lot of the pageantry stuff that sucks, like the 15-minute montage of some things that's just like, and this is all about the magic of movies, and like it always is like, this picture from Old Yeller and this picture from The Sound of Music, it's like that stuff I think is okay to cut. I really hated this year a lot of the choices they made. The biggest one being they didn't show clips from the damn movies. Like, show me these guys and women acting. Like, especially like you have no context. And these are so many movies that nobody has seen. Like, show scenes from the movies. Show why they got nominated. Like it used to be you would show the scene of the movie, of the reason why they were nominated was what they would show, and it would inspire people to want to watch the movie.
And the song nominated songs, they didn't even perform those this year.
Yeah, they performed them before the official telecast.
And I think they were like, let's cut the time there. It's like, I understand that there's like an importance of like best short and best animated short, because a lot of those people go on to do something great later. I get that. I get that there's this idea of like, especially with those categories, you get different people that you don't necessarily see, and people are exposed. That's good, both from a sense of exposing different people, but also, giving them opportunities to grow in the industry. I get that aspect, but wrap that shit up. Like, you got to do that stuff fast. Like, it's
we care the least about the awards. And
those awards, like, get to the good stuff. Like, show some real, but you got to show scenes. But I think that they need to. I don't think they need to cut those categories. I think they need to speed it up somehow. But I also think that they need to add some different categories. And like there was
saying stunts for years.
God damn it, that was my point. I was going to say stunts. Like, that to me is like the number one thing they don't respect. And I mean, how can you not watch something like John Wick and be like, my God, these people, or Mission Impossible Fallout. Tom Cruise learned how to fly a helicopter. And like, I mean, that is just as cool as some bullshit British person doing a fake Southern accent. They think we all talk like this, and I will not go to war because I'm a Southern Christian.
And was it Fallout or
Andrew Garfield? It was Fallout.
No. I mean, where Cruise was hanging on the airplane.
That was Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
Open the door! Open the door! Yeah, I'm trying. The other door!
Yeah, I mean, any of the Mission Impossible movies. I mean, like, that's the stuff people go see, and that's something I think people would be like, yeah, man, that's pretty dope. Also, there's so little respect for comedy. They've always had such little respect for comedy. And I think
well, after a certain point, because they used to respect it.
You're right. They used to. And so I think one hand, I think Hollywood doesn't, they want to make either the more general comedy that like will get butts in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
They think what gets butts in the seats is probably Adam Sandler type of crap. And no offense, but his movies are crap nowadays.
Halloween, you're punished.
But that kind of stuff versus like a being there.
Mr. Gardner, the New York Times spoke of your peculiar brand of optimism. What was your reaction?
I do not know what it means.
Or something that's hilarious, but also really thoughtful and worthy of Oscar nomination.
I remember when Wedding Crashers came out and it made like $200 million, and everyone was like, and the movie's actually like good. It's not some crap movie.
You know how they say we only use 10% of our brains? I think we only use 10% of our heart.
Tattoo on the lower back. Might as well be a bullseye.
And people were saying, well, is it going to get an Oscar nomination? And I thought then, like, the fact that it made $200 million is not what makes something Oscar worthy. I think what it is a problem of identity.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people expect it to be like the MTV Movie Awards or something, whereas other, like the Academy, wants this prestige thing. They want to be seen as prestigious. And that's being that snooty is hurting them, because at the end of the day, they're overlooking a lot of art.
But there's something to be said of, there's a middle ground where I understand you don't give Pulp Fiction Best Picture, but instead of giving it to Forrest Gump, you give it to Shawshank Redemption. Do you know what I mean? Because they're all not, well, actually, I think Shawshank wasn't nominated. It should have been, but you know what I mean? Like, you think about like, there's like times where
look it up. But
it
didn't win because it had the unfortunate, Trey's looking it up now. It had the unfortunate timing of coming out the same year as Forrest Gump
and Pulp Fiction. And that they kind of ate all the auction. But I mean, there's just not like there's not a lot of consensus when it comes to like.
It was nominated for Best Picture.
It was nominated. Okay,
I thought it was.
Fuck me. Yeah.
And Morgan Freeman was.
Morgan Freeman was as well.
Yeah, I knew he was nominated. Who won that?
And I don't remember who won acting. Well, no, acting would have been.
But that was Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. But
no, but I'm talking about. I thought it was supporting role. Yeah.
Yeah, he was lead.
Morgan Freeman was.
Yeah, they had him in Best Actor in a Leading Role. Morgan Freeman.
I guess that's why. Like,
Gary Sinise was in Best Supporting.
Oh, he got Best Supporting.
No, he was nominated. Martin Landau won for Ed Wood.
Oh, for Ed Wood. Oh, he was really good.
Oh, and that was another movie that came out that year. That was a great year for film.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. There's just like movies. There's just not a lot of movies nowadays where there's just not a lot of those middle of the ground, really good. Like a lot of people go see it, and it's also Oscar worthy. It's either you're in game.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Or you're, your
movie.
Your Parasite. It's like nobody's seen nobody had seen.
나들이 원래 잘했어가 편지를 그린 거죠.
자화상이에요.
역시.
Even though it's a brilliant movie.
Yeah, Parasite, I don't remember what its box office was.
It did pretty well, actually.
That one ended up doing pretty well, but like for the most part, it's like Sound of Metal, which, that movie is not like killing it.
It was good, but like the thing, I think where they misstepped the biggest was, I don't know how the hell they didn't give it to Get Out.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
They gave it to the stupid fish fucking movie, but I will not call it by its real name. But for like why Get Out was one of the most important movies of the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. You've got it in your hands, Oscars, vote for it. And like, it was like, if that had won, I think it really would have changed the dynamics. And the Oscars hate scary movies and thrillers. They never give any respect to that category either. And so it's like, how can you bring some of these other categories in and respect it? And I think stunts is a great way, like you said. I think they just have to figure out some way to incorporate more popular movies. But it's also up to Hollywood too to make some of these movies. So I think Netflix,
that's the thing. They have
Netflix
to
and
start
Hulu and some of these are doing a great job of making good movies. Personally, like I don't, like there was just a couple movies nominated. I'm like, those look okay, but like, I mean, Palm Springs was awesome. Like,
guess you followed me. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about.
Yeah.
To do what they pulled off in Palm Springs, I think that's award worthy. So, I mean,
and it was very well acclaimed by critics.
Yeah. Like there's just like, why ignore a movie like that? And maybe it's because this is a weird year, and I think it's going to take a couple years to bounce back because of COVID and things getting pushed to a side. But I mean, Nomadland was the best thing I've seen in a long time.
My mom says that you're homeless. Is that true?
No, I'm just houseless. Not the same thing, right?
No.
Like it was.
I haven't seen it. I keep
It's gorgeous. It is.
Okay.
It is a beautiful movie to watch. It's. But
I was somewhat interested in seeing it until the acceptance speech of Francis McDormand.
I would have said karaoke. My voice is in my sword. We know the sword is our work. We give this one to our wolf.
No, I'm kidding.
She's a weird lady. Honestly, Frances McDormand is someone I never want to have a conversation with because she scares the shit out of me. Like I would be so uncomfortable. I couldn't say a word around her. So I would just be like, hey, because she's very intimidating. And that's probably why you don't want to watch it. Because she is.
No, I mean, honestly, I heard some criticism about like how it addresses Amazon stuff. So I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I saw the trailer again or another clip and was like,
there's a scene in it.
Kind of interesting, but I don't know.
There is just this amazing scene where I don't want to give it all away, but basically David Strathairn, her and David Strathairn are the only actors in the movie. Everybody else is a real life nomad.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a scene where he's trying to help her and he does something. And
so there's an amazing scene in the movie and you don't want to give it away. I'll watch it.
I'm just saying, but it's just a subtle scene, but it's why like something like that deserves to win.
He's such a great actor.
Oh my gosh.
Like
he's so
like
solid.
The king of being subtle.
He can be anything. Yeah. He can be the bad guy in a Bourne movie, and he could be this sweet guy in this movie, and then he could be the awful father in Dolores Claiborne. So yeah, he's awesome.
He's a tremendous actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I pretty much agree with everything you said. I actually think that Questlove game of figuring out was this nominated the winner or whatever, that probably would have been fun even if Glenn Close hadn't broken out into doing the butt.
It was a little
and surprised us with all of her information about knowing
I heard that it was like
it was
scripted.
staged. Yeah.
No, what Questlove said is that I forget where I read this, but apparently all that she knew was they were going to do something, but she didn't really know what.
The biggest moment of the night, besides Daniel Kaluuya, but was Glenn Close doing the butt.
Who knew that she knew the butt? Everyone asked, like, was that scripted? Was that, like, really, we didn't prepare her. Like, we told her something's going to happen, but, she's...
Yeah, you never know what someone's going to do anything.
Yeah.
Of course, she's always game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So
I really did just know those details.
Right.
She's down.
That's pretty dope. I like her. And I like her more now because of that.
She should win a damn Oscar.
But I think just adding to what you both have said, I mean, it's just the same thing with TV ratings going down. I mean, there's so much content.
There is.
So much content. And so people aren't necessarily seeing, especially in a pandemic year, seeing these movies the way that they would have because there wasn't the same going to the theater for some of these movies. And yes, many, if not all of them were streaming. But a lot of these streaming channels aren't great about promoting because of how much content they have. Right. So you don't always know what's on there.
No.
And so you kind of go into the Oscars like, I didn't even know what was nominated. I didn't know any of this stuff. For that reason, I didn't really watch. And like you said, going hostless.
Yeah, they need a host. They need to bring back, they need to get Tina and Amy.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they didn't do it the Kevin Hart year, the year that was supposed to be Kevin.
Yeah,
because it was so close to the telecast. So like,
nobody else wanted
Nobody
to do
wanted
it.
it was toxic. Yeah,
but then why stick with that? And I can kind of understand the pandemic year.
Also,
kind of going hostless.
But Lil Rel was great, and I think he could have hosted.
Don't look nervous. I guess ain't nobody talked to y'all in a while. Y'all okay? Everybody like...
That sound about right. Here.
I don't know how much that's going to cost y'all, ABC, but it happened. We're in a train station. You don't know what you're going to hear. I got to go to my boy. You know what I'm saying? See, now I need you to save me now. That was crazy over there. She did the whole butt at the Oscars. This the blackest Oscars of all time, y'all. Glenn Close just did the butt at the Oscars. Questlove, play the butt to the break.
I thought Regina King was going to do it. I think honestly,
that's what I thought.
I thought I was going to be fine with it. Like she was doing a great job. So
I have to be honest. If things had gone differently this past week in Minneapolis, I might have traded in my heels for marching boots. As a mother of a black son, I know the fear that so many live with, and no amount of fame or fortune changes that.
I love the beginning. The beginning
was beautiful,
cool, but they really honestly need to have moments, and I think having a host helps a show have moments. And somebody pointed out, like, they keep talking about how they're hostless, but then they keep having these people come out and do things that a host would do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just have a host.
And remember to bring the funny.
Avoid controversy, I guess. But what's real dumb about that is it's silly and petty, and you're only responding to people who are silly and petty. Like, if you're going to engage people saying stuff, then at least do it in an honest way instead of just completely trying to dodge it by not having a host because you don't want Chris Rock to make a joke about Jude Law again or something like that.
You figure, why don't some movies work? Well, because the studios make them too fast. If you can't get a star, wait. Just wait. There's only 4 real stars, and the rest are just popular people, okay? If you want Tom Cruise and all you can get is Jude Law, wait. Who is Jude Law? Why is he in every movie I have seen the last 4 years? Even the movies he's not acting in. If you look at the credits, he made cupcakes or something. He's in everything. He's American, he's British. Next year, he's playing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the movie.
Like, they take themselves way too seriously, the Academy. And, like, behind the scenes, they didn't like a lot of the stuff that
I'm laughing at Rob. He did the Picard meme.
It's Chris Rock's joke. 50 Cent's been shot in the face more times than Jenna Jameson.
Music was so hard to sell this year that they had to sell it without even mentioning the music. So the 50 Cent album came out, I never heard a damn thing about the music. All I kept hearing was, he got shot 9 times. 50 Cent took more shots to the face than Jenna Jameson, man.
But that was at the MTV VMAs.
Oh, that wasn't the Oscars? That was
that was definitely on MTV. He could have said that at the Oscars.
I felt like he said that at the Oscars.
Well, I'm sure Trey will find the details.
Well, then again, Jimmy Kimmel had the joke that in Moonlight, the happy ending happened in the middle.
Of all the nominees, the only happy ending of all the nominees was the one in the middle of Moonlight. You didn't watch it, did you?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get it at first until I saw Moonlight, and I was like, oh, yeah.
The way everyone started laughing, I was like, oh, man. It must have been a great middle scene.
Yeah.
No, that movie was great. They have this hatred or something of having fun, it seems, because they didn't like it. The Academy didn't like it behind the scenes when David Letterman was hosting. And
that was hilarious.
Well, it's just like
but they were mad about like I read, and I love Keanu now, but at the time, behind the scenes when there was rehearsals and stuff, Bruce Valanche told Keanu Reeves that they were doing stupid pet tricks, And Keanu was kind of stunned and was like, but what about a sense of decorum? And I'm like, you guys take yourselves too effing seriously. And this is a TV show, okay? That's what the Oscars is. It's not about holding up yourselves on some pedestal like you want to make it about. It's supposed to be enjoyable to watch for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that
just make it fun.
That Letterman year was I'm pretty sure it was my freshman year in college. So that's when like Letterman was our god as far as late night.
Oh yeah.
And we were all gathered in the common room watching. Like that's the kind of thing you want for a show like this, is for young people to actually want to come watch it. And it's because of Letterman and all the stuff that we found hilarious. We saw the crowd in the actual Oscar audience just stone-faced. Like Oprah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 67th Annual Academy Awards. I won't lie to you. I've been dying to do something all day. Oprah? Uma? Oprah? I feel much better. Have you kids met Keanu?
And the stupid pet trick.
I thought it was so funny.
I have something here I want to show you. Let me just put this down. Can you want to help? Just come on up. Yeah, come on. This will be great. Tom Hanks, ladies and gentlemen, just roll that out. Would it kill you to have worn a tie? No, you can stay up here. I want you to see this. This is Sadie, the dog that spins when you applaud. What do you think of that? Most amazing thing I've ever seen, Gabe. All right, run it. Yes, sir, we got us a self-winding dog, ladies and gentlemen. Stacey Towns, ladies and gentlemen. Oh! Thanks, Tom. No, I'll take care of it. That was just as good as winning something, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then but later Oprah was like, she was saying in some interview, maybe when she and Letterman were on his show or her show, whichever time she said this, but she didn't get it while sitting there. I think she would have gotten it at any other show, but because it was the Oscars, she didn't get it.
Yeah, I brought you a present. I brought you a present.
In the show colors.
The color purple.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Well, this is something lovely.
Love, it says to Dave, love, Uma.
More love. Oprah.
There you go.
Now this raises the question of when I referenced you.
No.
And was that a problem?
No, that was not a problem. But I did say
problem
this.
for me.
No.
I'm glad you were all right.
What I had said about it was there is that moment, and you can see you moving toward, and I think, oh no.
Please don't bother me.
Then all you said was Oprah. I thought it was funny, but
well, you were the one.
And the stupid pet tricks, the fact that they pulled it out of it felt to the audience like they pulled it out of nowhere, and it was so hilarious.
But even like this year, it was like Laura Dern's
the top 10 list.
Laura Dern's like, Daniel Kaluuya, your performance was so beautiful, and it was like a poem that you wrote to our souls. It's like,
with your extraordinary commitment and your endless research, you did beautifully get within the man.
If I were Daniel Kaluuya, I'd be like, shut up and just show me acting.
He was moved to tears. I appreciated that moment.
No, I hated it. I hated that so much. Show him in the movie.
Show the clip. Show the clip.
Because God, that was a good movie, and he was so good in that. And he should have won Best Actor. He was not a supporting actor. He was There's two characters in that movie, Judas and the Black Messiah. That means they're both the main characters.
Well, like Batman v Superman, Batman and Superman are the supporting actors in that movie, and Wonder Woman is the star.
But
I'm making a joke because Judas and the Black Messiah is the name of that movie, and those two actors who were playing those roles.
No, I believe Jesse Plemons was the star of the movie.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons.
Yeah. He was the actual star. So,
but he was the lead actor of that movie.
Yeah.
But you all, as much as you're Rob excoriating that Laura Dern speech, it actually made me realize I've been to a number of those non-televised award shows, and Jason, I know you hosted some in Greenville.
Yeah.
If you're somebody in that industry, that's and it's not televised, that might be the kind of award evening that you want. because it's about appreciating each other and appreciating that. And so that the fact that the pandemic forced them into this more intimate setting at the tables is what made me finally realize to a degree why the Oscars is a little stodgier, because they want to have that kind of celebration, but prestige. And you know, the award shows I've been to, I felt that kind of warmth. I wouldn't have ever in a million years watched the same thing on TV that I was attending in person.
Yeah.
But I had a different appreciation for it being there in person. So I get it from that standpoint, but the folks in the Academy have to understand, if you're trying to put cameras in there, then you do have to do something different.
They're
And
trying
Jason's
to put eyeballs on the screen.
Yeah. And unless you want it to just be a niche thing, if you want it to be a niche thing, then fine, embrace it.
So what's the point of the SAG Awards?
Then you become the Spirit.
The Spirit Awards. That's the niche thing,
and
which is another reason why the numbers for the Oscars are low.
It needs to be this
more of those,
because the Oscars still needs to be the Oscars. It needs to be the pinnacle. To me, it still needs to be like the thing everyone strives to be. Yeah, but they need to step up their game.
Right,
they need to step up their game.
They've done it better somewhat better with representation. They're doing better.
Somewhat, yeah. They're doing better in the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Internally,
get rid of the Golden Globes, but that's my opinion.
But it's funny how easy it is to become self-important in that way. Because Jason may or may not remember me telling these stories, but when I was at ESPN, I started in '99. So the ESPYs only had existed for 6 years by the time I started.
Yeah.
And so the feel from most folks internally who were of the older generation, they wanted to be the Oscars of sports. That's literally what they said. They wanted the ESPYs to be. And there was this one year, I don't remember which year it was, but Steven Seagal hosted. He didn't host. I'm sorry. I misspoke. He didn't host.
Bizarre what that had been.
He was a presenter. But this is when he was going through his kind of Asian culture thing. And so he wore, I forget,
a kimono.
Something along those lines, if it wasn't literally a kimono. And people, again, the older execs, after the fact, were dogging the fact that he wore that. It's like, no, you're supposed to be wearing a tux. It's the Oscars of sports and blah, blah, blah. And they were mad at other stuff like that. And it's like, dude, that's not. I mean, they already give away MVP in all the major sports. They already, for the individual sports, give these other awards too. You're trying to get people to watch this made up thing. And yeah, I get the appeal for that, but it's got to be an entertainment show. And that's when the ESPYs ratings started improving, was when they made it, when Broadway Video and Lorne Michaels' company started producing and started really doing more of the writing, and you saw SNL style bits. That's really when it started going up. And instead of actors hosting, it was comedians. That's the kind of thing you need, because you need to have the fun. I mean, you're still not going to have everybody tuning in, because so much of the award show is going to be the award, giving it out.
Yeah.
Which, like you both have said, you can go on the internet the next morning. So who cares? But at least you'll get more eyeballs if you have the music, if you have the bits, if you have the stuff.
And part of it is, this year they just, so we watched it, Justina and I, girlfriend of the show, we watched it and enjoyed it. I think we just enjoyed the vibe and seeing Regina King and people like that. But I think where the producers got it wrong is they stripped all the things that could have made it a moment and made it fun. And I think ultimately, so we've already established this is a television show. We're trying to watch something to enjoy.
Yeah.
But the other thing, for their interests, this is really a big commercial for
those
the
movies.
industry, but also for these movies and things that were nominated. So you should want people to watch it. And if you want people to watch it, you have to drop this staid, it's all about prestige and decorum thing, and make it fun to watch.
Yeah.
They could get away with it back 50, 60 years ago when you watched one movie, maybe you saw a double feature when that was still a thing. in the
barely saw
theater.
these stars.
With like
It's
15
oh my
movies drop
gosh,
every
oh.
Friday. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's
Marlon
like,
Brando's going to be on. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see that because you never saw Marlon
He-
Brando.
because he
But
never
now
came.
the big stars you see all the time.
Yeah, they're dancing on Fallon and
Yeah.
doing whatever on Colbert. They have
And
their
you're
TV
following
shows
them on
and their movies.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're following them all over the place.
Well, and then the other thing we're not talking about, they really stepped on the rake too. It's like, I don't know. I know that Steven Soderbergh was involved in the production of the show. Oh my God. It was the biggest rake step I've ever seen in my life, where it was like, we're going to do Best Picture, not at the end of the night, before Best Actress and Actor, because we're pretty sure Chadwick Boseman's going to win. And it's going to be a really great moment. His widow's going to speak. It's going to be really touching to the times. Okay, so let's send out jackass Joaquin Phoenix, who's terrible. And then okay, he hates
Ask him to
awards.
say something. He
He won't say it. And he'll say something about how awards are basically bullshit.
I'm supposed to talk about acting, the transformative moment when an actor discovers the character, but I don't really know anything about that. I don't think that I've ever really had that experience.
And then, okay, Anthony Hopkins, who, and I've told you, so I have not seen it, but I've heard that is his best work possibly ever. It might be better than his performance in Silence of the Lambs. Like, it's supposed to be amazing. And I heard that it could happen, but the fact that he wins, he's not there, and it's just a picture of him.
Anthony Hopkins, the father. The Academy congratulates Anthony Hopkins and accepts the Oscar on his behalf.
Peace out.
Good night.
Questlove's hit the twos, and then we're done. You know, it was like, wow. It was supposed to be this poignant moment, and it didn't happen. Maybe you should have let the poignant moment mean that Nomadland won Best Picture. Like, let's do Best Picture last, jackasses.
Like we normally do. Yeah.
Yeah, that was stupid.
but if Boseman had actually won, do you think it would have paid off, or do you still think
it would have paid off.
Oh, so then
it would have been a beautiful moment.
So you're judging it based on how it happened, not based on
they should have asked Price Waterhouse.
I think there was a risk. I think there was a risk. They gambled on a risk, and the house always wins, to mention a Steven Soderbergh movie.
Because the house always wins.
Yeah, the house won this time.
yeah. They should have had Danny Ocean there. Would have helped.
It probably would.
Speaking of no movie stars, yeah, George Clooney exists, and so is Julia Roberts, but yeah, no movie stars. Hey, are we just not going to talk about Will Ferrell singing on an Oscar-nominated song? Is no one going to mention that? Because no one has talked about that.
I had tapped out before he did that, so I didn't.
Well, they didn't do the smart thing.
Oh, that's right. You're not talking about on the show. You're just talking about in real life.
No, I'm saying, well, they didn't because. Oh, you know why? Because they didn't do the smart thing of like having people perform the songs.
At the Oscars, yeah.
And you could have had Will Ferrell in a funny outfit. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Because think about like when the South Park song was done for the Oscars, and it was Robin
Williams.
Oh my God, they killed Kenny!
I never will forget when he said in that bitch Anne-Marie too.
With all their hockey hullabaloo and that bitch Anne-Marie too.
It was phenomenal.
It was so great. And also, and this just speaks to his sweetness, his mic was still on when they were like closing the curtains and he was addressing all the kids. And so you could hear what he said to the kids, and he was just saying, "Oh, you did so great. Oh, it was great. You all did so awesome." I was just like, "Oh man, what the nicest dude." Okay. Speaking of Oscars
and Oscar-worthy films.
movies, Mortal Kombat is a new movie that's out. Rob, we haven't seen it. Trey and I have not seen it, but you have. So the floor is yours.
Thank
you.
Let me just preface your rant. Whatever you're about to say. I saw a trailer or two for it, and that's literally all I knew about it.
Yeah.
I think whoever put the trailer together did a pretty good job.
Yes, they did.
First learned about this 7 years ago on a mission in Brazil to capture a wanted fugitive. When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds. Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament. That dragon marking? I think it's an invitation as Mortal Kombat. I'm Sonya. That's Kano.
Kung Lao. I'm Liu Kang.
Name's Jax.
Lord Raiden. The fate of Earth is in our hands. I am Sub-Zero. Kano wins. Get over here!
Because it looked like it was going to be very faithful to the
Like
video
it's going
game.
to be very much better than the 90s.
Let me. Oh, okay. So let me take you back. First off, Jason, this is the one thing where Jason and I rarely disagree, and that's because I'm not a big video gamer. For the most part, I think they're kind of time sucks. We disagree about that. My wife actually agrees with Jason that she thinks it's actually a good thing to
depends
play.
what kind of game you're playing. If it's just a shooter game, then it's a time suck.
But me, little Rob, and God bless my mother, I've got my Sega Genesis, and she's bought me Mortal Kombat, and she lets me call the 1-900 number so that I can get the blood code. Because there's no point in playing Mortal Kombat if you don't have the blood code. And I think it was like down, up, left, right, down, something like that. So, or A, B, A, B. I used to remember it. Mortal Kombat was like the world to me. And I loved it. And the first movie, when it came out, it was the first movie I saw when I moved to South Carolina. And it was like a really important movie. And in fact, the second time I saw it in the theater was with like the first friends I made in South Carolina. Because I moved in the 7th grade. And it was, it's an awkward time in life. And so it's hard to make friends at that time in life. So it's like a really big, important movie to me.
In each of us, there burns the fury of a warrior. 3 strangers travel to the mystical realm of Outworld to defend our people against Shang Tsung. You will die.
When I saw it as an adult, I realized it was a piece of hot garbage pushed down the road, but there was still fun stuff to it. It was good. And like, it was good in that sense. I was like, like nostalgia sense, it's a fun movie. But the thing that movie gets right is it understands the game. This piece of shit, $100 million movie did not understand. If you're going to have a movie about a fighting tournament, you show the goddamn fighting tournament.
They didn't show the tournament.
No, there's no tournament.
Called Mortal Kombat.
There's no tournament
called.
There's no, because what happens is there's champions of Earth. They're supposed to go to this. They're supposed to go to like this neutral place, and they fight Outworld for the control of all these realms. And if Earth's mightiest warriors lose, then Outworld can take over Earth. That's how it works. That's the rules. I don't get it, but them's the rules. And so, but instead, the bad guy, Shang Tsung, who's the bad guy, is basically sending his warriors to kill them before they can compete in Mortal Kombat. So it happens, it's like a prequel movie. They can't even compete in Mortal Kombat because these people are going around trying to kill them. So there's no tournament. And then it's just like, okay, they decide to bring in a new character played by Louis Tan. And if you're wondering who Louis Tan is, so did I. No, he's briefly in Deadpool 2. He played, I'll get this. It's Shatterstar. He's the guy that says he's basically better than human beings because he's an alien, and then he falls into the helicopter and dies.
Left! No, stage left, you idiot! Oh! Well, I guess we found something you're not better at.
And Deadpool is not upset about him dying as a member of X-Force. So, so you've got that guy's the lead. He's a new character that wasn't in the games. He's boring as hell. The lady who's playing Sonya is taking it way too serious. The guy who plays Kano is awesome. Like, that's the only good part about it. He was way better than the guy in the original movie playing Kano. He was fantastic.
What do you think of the guy who played Jax?
He was terrible. It was... it was just made no sense.
He played Jimmy Olsen in the Supergirl TV show. That's fine.
James Olsen. Well, Jimmy's reserved for my mom and the big guy.
He was like, okay, so like he gets his arms. It's pretty cool when he gets his arms taken off. I'll give it that. It's like Sub-Zero freezes his arms and like rips them off. It's pretty dope. And this movie is a hard R. In that sense, I appreciated they went hard R with it. They actually, there is a lot of gruesome deaths in it. I appreciate that aspect of it, but there was no tournament. The plot made no sense because basically you just went from A to B like way too fast. But they had like so many good people in it. They had this guy named Joe Taslim, who is in The Raid and The Raid 2, which and then The Night Comes for Us, which are all just these amazing Indonesian action movies. I know that sounds like new movie snobdom, but I'm telling you, I think The Raid is still on Netflix. If it's not, go rent it. It's the best action movie you'll ever see in your life. I swear to God, they actually kill people in that movie. It's the action so good. Like there's no Jason Bourne cut shots. It looks like they're actually beating the shit out of each other. It is so good. And a lot of those guys ended up like in Star Wars and a bunch of different, like one of the guys, he's in Star Wars and John Wick. And they're really good fighters and really good actors. And then you've got some like decent actors like Chin Hun, who was Lau in The Dark Knight. The evil banker. Like he's Shang Tsung and he's terrible as Shang Tsung. It is so bad. It makes no sense. So, at least this time they didn't have Christopher Lambert being Raiden, the Japanese god of thunder and lightning. So they actually have a real Japanese person playing him. But it's like, the only good thing is the guy plays Scorpion. It's kind of interesting, but like, it's so frustrating because it's like they spent all this money and the plot makes no sense. And I think they want to set up, they want to set up an empire.
That movie. They really put a lot of money into promoting that movie. So, and I thought it was going to be when I first saw the promotion,
so awesome.
I was like, that looks like it's going to be a big
It looked like, oh my God, they finally understand like who these characters are. And they're going to get it right. But even like Jax, like he gets his arms taken off and then like he's in this Buddhist monk temple, but they've made like robotic arms for him. Like, I'm not talking about like in a medical facility and then they take him to this place. Literally it's like a Buddhist monk, it's Raiden's temple. And he's got like, it's kind of like steampunk looking arms. And then the whole point of the movie is they're supposed to find their Akana, which is like their secret abilities. So like Liu Kang can throw fireballs and Kano can shoot a laser from his eye. But like, so like Jax is like, he's got these crappy robotic arms and then they turn into really good robotic arms. It was, I'm like, say what? So it's like, so you're telling me that all along his power that he's had his whole life was that his arms had to get ripped off so that they could become super jacked metal arms? And that doesn't make any sense because in the game he just loses his arms and they're like robotic ones they give him. Like there's no like it's just like finding like your secret power to like, I don't know, just let him throw. Let's say like Liu Kang studies this form of martial arts and like part of it is you learn how to throw fireballs. That sounds cool to me. That sounds a lot cooler than you have this hidden secret talent. That's just stupid. Like I don't know. They wanted to make it like this whole plot point, and so.
Will it get any of those technical Oscar nominations, you think? Like,
no, because even like the Goro looked terrible. Like it was a CGI Goro and it just didn't look good. The only cool part was, and there's Liu Kang who has like a hat that's like a buzzsaw. And this like, I have no idea who this bad lady was. He's fighting her, but it's not even that long of a fight. She basically like flies by him one time and then he realizes, oh, I'm going to trick her. And he like throws his hat into the sand and it's spinning and he like picks her up and knocks her down and throws her and like cuts her in half, bisects her. And it's pretty gruesome. And so, obviously I like that aspect of it, but it was like, that was like the only cool part. It's like, that was it. And and when Sub-Zero ripped off Jack's arms, but that's about it. Like, and all the, And,
well, I guess I know not to watch that.
Yeah. And all the heroes win their fights. So that's the thing. No hero. One hero dies, but that's it. It's like, it was like totally telegraphed that he was about to die. But like everything else, it was like, and they don't have Johnny Cage in it. So it's like, you don't have Johnny Cage and I don't know. It's just.
Based on what you're describing, whoever the editors were for the trailer have to be like some of the best editors.
You know what?
Ever.
You know what? That should be an Oscar. Best trailer. Best trailer, because God knows some of those bastards have tricked me into going to see things I wish I'd never seen.
Well, the people who cut the Josh Trank Fantastic Four trailer almost had me until everybody walked out of the theater and said, nope. But that was a great trailer. But this Mortal
Prometheus
Kombat
had a good marketing run too, and people were kind of like bleh on the movie.
I will defend that movie. I will not defend Alien Covenant. Alien Covenant, I literally turned to the stranger next to me and I was like, this is a bunch of bullshit. I'm not joking.
There it is. That's it. Well, thanks for being on the podcast, fellas.
There it is. I fucking hate Mortal Kombat. Better representation. Oscars so wait.
We're a bunch of jackasses, but I hope you enjoyed that nevertheless. And hey, what are your thoughts? Did you agree with us on topics like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or the Oscars or Joe Rogan? Why don't you share your thoughts with us on Twitter, Instagram, and or Facebook? You can just follow us at There It Is Pod. And you can also follow me on Twitter at JasonFarJokes and Instagram at JasonFarPics. Also, Rob is part of that band, The Socks. You can go to Twitter at @the_Socks, Instagram at The Socks Official, and Facebook at The Socks. Links in bio. Until next time, be good to each other.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.
Oprah, Uma, Oprah.